Welcome to Pause for the Truth. We are grateful that you joined us today and hope you've gained valuable insights on our current topic. We look forward to
Welcome to Pause for the Truth, where you can sit back, relax, and hear an honest dialogue about health, wealth, legal, and social issues. The hosts are Dr. Rogers Kane, family practice physician, and Jocelyn Turner, health education consultant, with co-hosts from the Northeast Florida Medical Society and its foundation. Stay tuned for the truth about matters affecting you and your family. We're here to tell you what's really going on and why. Good evening and welcome to Pause for the Truth. We're a little tardy tonight, but I have to admit and throw myself under the bus and say that it's my fault. So forgive me, everybody, because tonight is a very important topic to so many of us. I'm not going to even say so many people. I'm going to include myself in this. So many of us. It's something that's very important. It's something that's very needed. And we couldn't have better guests to join us and enlighten our audience about this very important topic. But before we tell you a little bit about them or let them tell you about themselves, I'm going to first ask my co-host, Dr. Rogers Kane. How are you doing this evening, Dr. Kane?
I am doing great. I was having a little pre-show conversation with these ladies. They so nice until they met Tyrone, but other than
that. Well, and he, of course, to our viewers who tune in with us every week, he's talking about our behind the scenes guy. By the way, to our guests, he may pop up to the forefront when something piques his interest and curiosity, or if it's something that he's really passionate about. So tonight we're talking about, again, a topic that's so important for all of us, and that is continuing our discussion. Last week we had a neurologist on talking about dementia, Alzheimer's. Again, that's affecting so many families. And she talked obviously about the medical aspects of it. Well, tonight, that was important. But tonight we're getting into what I call the nitty gritty and the day-to-day things that people deal with. Very important to understand the disease. And that's what we focused on last week. But tonight we're fortunate to have Linda Levin, the CEO of Elder Source. How are you doing this evening, Linda?
Good, Jocelyn. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just peachy. And by the way, as we speak, that was when you heard my phone, that was my family member who is experiencing dementia calling me. They haven't heard from me today, so I may have to pause for a moment and let Dr. Kane take over just to see what's going on with them. And of course we have, and Jody, if I mess up your last name, please don't be mad. Jody Strusnig with the Alzheimer's Association. Did I do okay, Jody?
You did a great job. Thank you so much, Jocelyn.
Oh, listen, I had some great teachers who taught me phonics and those very important things. And nowadays, just you would think, it's just you're supposed to talk about that kind of stuff, right? But anyway, we're so happy to have both of you here tonight. Poor Jody's colleague, I saw him at an event a couple of weeks ago, and I went running up to him. I wanted to tackle him, Jody, but I said, I'm not going to, and said, hey, how timely. We're about to enter into a discussion about Alzheimer's and dementia. And it would be so wonderful if we can have someone from your organization. He's like, oh, you got to have Jody. And here you are. So thank you both. It's a hot day in Florida, and this is a hot topic, in my opinion. I'm going to first ask you, because I'm not going to make an assumption that our audience knows about your organizations. So I'm going to first start with Linda and ask you if you can just briefly share something about your organizations as we get started. And I'm going to ask our audience to bear with me while I step away to see what the relative wants with the phone call.
Sure. You do what you got to do, Jocelyn.
yeah, we got
it. That's right. She's got to do what she's got to do.
If you can, tell us about your organization and whatever you think, just kind of a prelude to our discussion this evening, what your organization role is in the community.
Sure, sure. So thank you for having me. Um, I'm CEO of Elder Source, and Elder Source is a nonprofit. We are designated by the state of Florida to be the Area Agency on Aging and the Aging and Disability Resource Center for 7 counties in Northeast Florida. And since you have a podcast and you have a large reach, just so your listeners know, we're part of a large state and national network of area agencies on aging and aging and disability resource centers. So, folks who are listening, if they need a connection to another agency where they are, we can connect them to those. But as an area agency on aging, we get state and federal dollars, and we contract with local agencies to provide home and community-based services to hopefully delay or prevent unnecessary institutionalization, nursing home placement. We like to keep people living in their homes, in the community, with independence and dignity, with a variety of services, meal sites, senior centers, home delivered meals, which people most know best, but also other services like caregiver support services and legal services and such. We have a helpline that helps connect older adults, people with disabilities, and caregivers to those many resources and others in the community to help them live and age with independence and dignity. And we'll help them apply for benefits and help them get through that process.
I like what you
Yes,
said,
John.
live and age. Is that what
Right.
you said?
That's right. I heard a great quote just the other day. I was at a conference that aging is living. It's not
Yeah.
just getting old, you're
Yep.
living. You
Yep.
start aging at birth, right? So aging is
Right.
living.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true. And you really start to appreciate it, in my opinion, the older we get, right?
Yes. Yeah, oh, yeah.
And we'll delve into more of what you said in a moment. And by the way, no crisis, thank goodness, just a
Oh,
simple
good,
question.
good.
Jody, I'm not going to make the assumption that everybody understands what the Alzheimer's Association is about. So give us the dibs on it.
All right, let me give you the details on the Alzheimer's Association. So, we are a nonprofit, and the Alzheimer's Association, we really lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementias by really accelerating that research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and also maximizing that quality care and support. So, what does that really mean? We are everywhere. We are rooted in science. There are tons of research going on right now about Alzheimer's and dementia. We also have care and support going on in all over the state of Florida. We have support groups for caregivers. We have them in various stages of the disease, everything from younger onset to advanced Alzheimer's caregiver support groups for the caregivers who are day in day in the trenches of the disease. We also have some very specific support groups for the veterans groups and things like that. So we have a lot of great care and support out there for every family member that's dealing with the disease.
Never thought about veterans, and with Jacksonville or Northeast Florida having a large veterans presence, that's important to know. So tell me, when you have a person, and I know this happens to both of you, usually a family member, obviously, because I can't imagine you receive a call from someone who was diagnosed early on and will say, I just received a diagnosis. But
Mhm.
oftentimes I'm sure that, and you may get that type of call. I don't know.
We do. We
You do?
actually get that. We get those types of calls many, many times. So the Alzheimer's Association has a helpline, much like Elder Source does, and all of our services are free. So anyone can call our helpline at that 800-272-3900 number, and they are connected to services across the state of Florida.
Can you repeat that number again, Jody?
Sure. It's 1-800-272-3900.
Fantastic. And so when you get that call and from a family member, and I'm sure they're
Mhm.
in this distress, what's the usual or the most the thing that stands out the most in terms of what their immediate needs are?
So many times their immediate needs are, they vary. So some of them just need to tell their story and what's going through, what's happening right now in the now, in their world. There is a, for instance, we get a phone call from the helpline that says their husband is standing outside and the wife can't get them in, or their partner can't get them in. So our master's level clinicians who answer these phone calls will ask a variety of questions, and then they give you solutions on how to get them inside. One time that we asked if the person would actually take the person living with the disease, will they take the phone? And the answer was yes. So they handed the phone over to the person. The master's level clinician said a couple of things, and the person walked right back inside. So that immediate need was solved. Sometimes they call the helpline because they have a question about a diagnosis. So, what's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? So, we will walk through them, the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. What's the difference between Lewy body and frontotemporal? And we'll answer that question as well over the phone. And a lot of times, those master's level clinicians, when they take that phone call, they will then connect the person to the program manager that's in their area, so that we can get them set up with a support group, educational opportunities, and many, many other things that are going on in that area.
Do your organizations interface at all? I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people probably thought that Alzheimer's or dementia is usually a disease that happens only to older folks. I see you, Linda, shaking your head.
No.
But one thing I learned last week with a neurologist, that it's happening to even younger folks now, and people probably didn't realize it. But I think the more people become educated, and the more you all do a great job of putting information out, that people now recognize those things in their family members.
Yeah, I know we work with our local, the chapter, the Alzheimer's Association chapter. We refer to them and they'll refer to us for services um, to help the person stay at home and supported, and then help the caregiver. We also have what is called the Dementia Care and Cure Initiative, which was started by the Department of Elder Affairs throughout the state. There's different groups. And we co-lead that with Mayo Clinic, which is the memory disorder clinic for our area. And the Alzheimer's Association, of course, is a member of that. And so we do work, we do work together, support each other. Of course, we get our team together to walk in the Alzheimer's Memory Walk to help raise the money for the research and support. So it's important, there's so much need that organizations like ours do work together, because it takes us working together to really solve the problem. This is not a problem to be solved. This is one that we manage along
Yeah.
with the caregivers, right? I think what's important too is, and I'm glad you had the session before ours, that diagnosis, getting the right diagnosis as best as you can, because there are things that can look like dementia that can be treated, and we want to make sure that gets handled, whether it's UTIs or dehydration or medication mismanagement. And I see Dr. Kane, right? You're probably seeing patients with those situations. And if we can get those addressed, malnutrition, then hopefully we're not seeing a situation with a dementia. But when there is dementia, we know and that's what that is, and then we can manage that with the caregiver. We don't at our office get the call from the person typically who's been diagnosed. We usually get the family member looking for support, because you've heard of the book 36-hour day. It is literally a 36-hour, 48-hour day. It's so tiring and exhausting that the caregiver is calling us for help.
And a lot of times it can be people, my office staff,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
calling, trying to find out what kind of resources are available for you, from you guys. And I think you mentioned a very important point, and that is not all people that presents with what you think may be memory loss, especially when it's an acute memory loss. do you just automatically assign, dementia or Alzheimer's? You said one of the primary targets, especially in ladies, is a UTI. Okay, urinary tract infection. That will set them off, and they're going like, "Hey, she's talking crazy. She's hallucinating. She's this. I think she's got some dementia." And it's like, well, no, I saw her last week, and she was perfectly fine. So let us take a look and see what it is that's going on. So not everything is dementia. So, but I also don't want people to dismiss the possibilities that other medical conditions exacerbate the initial onset of a notification. I'm going to say not onset.
Right. It's the three Ds: dementia, delirium, depression.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so and we try to make sure the people on the podcast understand what we're talking about. In terms of they know what dementia and then what depression is. They may not know exactly what delirium is, but we do explain it in the office exactly what may be going on.
Go ahead, Linda.
I was going to say, Justin, you asked about age and younger folks presenting with signs of dementia. And the first thing I just want to say, and we talked about this before we actually started when we were behind the scenes, is that for folks to know this is not normal aging. This is, it does happen. It seems like it's happening in increasing numbers, but a lot of that is, one, because more are getting diagnosed, and two, people are living longer, which does increase the likelihood. So we didn't used to live to our hundreds, our 80s and 90s. So it is showing up more. But yes, unfortunately, it does also affect younger people as well. There is early onset dementia. And in fact, one of our programs that we fund, which is the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative funded by the state, that is one of our programs that has no age requirement.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Our other programs, you have to be 60 or older, but to get services through the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative, there is no age requirement.
Good.
That's because it does sometimes affect, unfortunately, people who are younger.
Yeah, there's a commercial of a gentleman. I forgot what organization he's affiliated with. I've been seeing a local coach or something. His wife, age 57, she has it, and they've been running. Have any of you seen that commercial on television? There's a coach in the region. His wife was diagnosed at age 57, so it's coming up on the news. And I can't remember which one of the news shows. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Linda. But I want to ask both of you, what are some challenges, the biggest challenges your organizations face in providing care or support to families that might need it?
Go ahead, Jody. You want to go?
Yes. Sometimes they don't know we're out here. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just don't know that we're here. We've run into many people at health fairs and events where they say, "We wish we would have found you sooner." So it's a matter of really getting that. That's why we have so many community partners across the state of Florida, because we don't want another family not to know that we're out there to help them. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is just making sure that people understand and know that we're out there to help them. Because if we can't get them connected to a resource, we know someone else who can get them connected to a resource. That's why we work so well with Elder Source and the Senior Connection Center.
One of the things I'd like to see happen as a primary care provider is a greater communication between you guys' organizations and our office in terms of educating our staff on how to help handle. And that should be widespread, not just my office, obviously, but it's throughout the county.
It's okay to be selfish sometimes, Dr. King. It's okay to be selfish sometimes.
Yeah, well, I don't mind being selfish. I'll take advantage of it. But I see Linda shaking her head yes, because I think she probably, both of you guys recognize the need for greater communication from the primary care providers with your guys' organization. Because a lot of them just don't know what it is that you guys do.
That's right. That's right. And I have the same struggle that Jody has in terms of people knowing to call us to
Yeah.
get resources, to get the help they need. And if they don't know, having the primary care physician know to make that referral, we're going to have to talk after the show, Dr. Kane.
You got it.
No,
um,
absolutely. We want to make sure
right.
that you have all of our information.
That's
We
right.
got it.
Well, fortunately, our audience includes clinicians, physicians, so
Great.
they're going to get the information tonight. And by the way, they may post questions during the conversation.
Okay.
But
Great.
Great.
so you talked about, Jody, that people find out about you when you all go to events, which is where I saw your big mobile unit
You
out.
did.
So tell us about how you typically will get the word out to communities that your organization exists, and so and to make sure that folks know what resources are available for them.
Right. Well, so you saw our big purple bus.
Mhm.
So we have the Brain Bus, which is one of the initiatives in Florida, and that we have two of them that go across the state, and they talk about brain health. And they also talk about the early warning signs. They also talk about actually how to get a diagnosis and how to have those conversations with your clinician. And then they go into deeper about understanding Alzheimer's and dementia. So the Brain Bus is very unique to the state of Florida and really goes to the rural and diverse areas. So that's where you're going to see our Brain Bus at the most. You're going to see us and our volunteers because we have a lot of volunteers out there. We are a volunteer led nonprofit, and we have many volunteers that are out there doing health fairs and events across the state.
Fantastic. What about you, Linda? How do people find out about the resources of Elder Source?
Well, like the Alzheimer's Association, we do a lot of outreach throughout our 7 counties. We have our website, which is myeldersource.org, and I think they had that up there earlier. They'll find us by doing a search, social media, uh, regular media, interviews, things like this, as a matter of fact, the
Mhm.
podcast, which is great. Thank you again. So it's, and a lot of it is word of mouth, is, their neighbor, their friend, their family member, another partner in the community will, like the Alzheimer's Association, refer to
Right.
us. And one of the challenges that we talked about people knowing us to call us. Um, Unfortunately, another challenge is limited funding, limited resources for assistance and services. And so that's why, Alzheimer's Association does their memory walk, is to generate more revenue, more money for research and services. And we are primarily funded by the state and federal government. And so I'm going to say the word wait lists exists.
Yeah.
But what is important to know, I think it's important for people to know there are waiting lists, because they're going to get off of this podcast and think they're going to get services immediately. But also important to know about the waiting lists is it's not based on how long you're on the list. It's based on your own risk score. And so you can come on and you may get services more immediately, or you might not. Someone else might come on. It just depends on their individual frailty, their individual score. And so please do call, because if you don't, then you won't get services. So at least calling us, you have a chance of getting services, even if you have to sit on the waiting list for a moment. But that's probably the other challenge. And then the other is, quite frankly, is people accepting the help. Dementia is unique in that there's a stigma attached, there's fear attached, there's anxiety and not wanting to admit, and they're not getting the help early enough. And so to know they're not alone and to reach out sooner rather than later is, I think, something I wish more people would do.
You
I'm
mentioned that you
gonna.
have a partnership with, I'm sorry, you mentioned you had a partnership with Mayo.
Mhm.
And there's you all have a committee. What is that all about? And I know they do a lot of clinical trials and all. Is that a part of a big reason why that group was formed?
No, the Dementia Care and Cure Initiative was started by the Department of Elder Affairs, the secretary of the department, a couple secretaries ago, actually. And it is to help make the community more friendly for people living with dementia.
Okay.
Um, the Memory Disorder Clinic at Mayo, they do testing and diagnosis of the disease. But the dementia, and so they're funded also by the Department of Elder Affairs, like we are. So they host and co-host with us our local task force. And the intent of that task force, it's made up of organizations who are interested in making things better in the community for people living with dementia and their caregivers, um, and bringing awareness to the disease and making it more possible for them to engage in the community rather than isolating in their own home.
That would include like the Dining with Dementia program,
Yeah,
dementia-friendly dining program.
Yep, yep. Like the restaurants. We work here, in fact, with the Cummer Museum. If Jocelyn, you're familiar with the Cummer,
Mhm.
so we work with them, and they have a special event that they do for people living with dementia and their caregiver, where they come and they spend time with them, and they go through the exhibit. And it's a great way to show that you can stay engaged. I think, Dr. King, we were talking about that earlier, right? They shut down and they shut in when they don't have to. They could still live a happy, productive life. We need to make that possible in the community for them. And so one of the examples here locally is the Cummer Museum's work that we partner with them on.
Isolation is one of the worst things that can happen to these patients. And I have patients that when they retire, sometimes by choice and sometimes not so much by choice, but when they retire, they still look for something to do because they just get isolated within the house, and they want to feel like they're still contributing to the community. And a lot of them still have enough to be able to contribute. And then by them being engaged with the community, we're giving back to them because it does help improve their outcome over time. Because just interaction with others is kind of like a pill for dementia to a degree. Because to a degree, it's like taking something for it and help delay the worsening of the dementia. I'm sorry, Jody. Go ahead. You were saying.
No, that's why volunteering is so important, that social isolation piece. And when people retire and they want something more to do, that's why volunteering is so important, because, volunteering also is one of those 10 healthy habits to help reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's or dementia.
Right. So I
want to take a moment to ask that we pause for our History Maker moment. Each week, to our guests, each week we feature a history maker, and it allows you the opportunity to go off camera for a second. Don't go away, though, and get a drink of water or something. And so our behind the scenes guy, we never know, by the way, ladies, what we're going to get, but Tyrone does the research. And so Tyrone, if you would go ahead and show it, and then we'll be back to resume our conversation.
Hello, everyone. Today, we're diving into the incredible work of Dr. Goldie Bird, a true trailblazer in Alzheimer's research. Welcome to Pause for the Truth History Maker Minute, July 23rd, 2024. Today, we're spotlighting Dr. Goldie Bird, a pioneering researcher and director of the Maya Angelou Center for Health Equity at Wake Forest University. Dr. Bird has devoted over 15 years to unraveling the mysteries of Alzheimer's disease, especially focusing on African Americans, who are twice as likely to be diagnosed, yet often overlooked in research. Her groundbreaking work examines the genetic and environmental factors contributing to these disparities, leading to better prevention and treatment strategies. But Dr. Bird's impact goes beyond the lab. She's a fierce advocate for health equity, offering education to local communities and resources for dementia caregivers. Hold on, there is much more to say about Dr. Goldie Bird and her amazing journey. In addition to her groundbreaking research, Dr. Goldie Bird's commitment to community engagement is nothing short of inspiring. She has tirelessly worked to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease, particularly within African American communities, ensuring that people understand both the risks and the resources available to them. Dr. Bird has spearheaded numerous educational programs, workshops, and community events, bringing vital information directly to those who need it most. Her efforts have empowered countless individuals and families, giving them the tools to better navigate the challenges of Alzheimer's. Her advocacy doesn't stop there. Dr. Bird collaborates with local organizations and healthcare providers to create a network of support for dementia caregivers, offering practical advice, emotional support, and essential services. This holistic approach ensures that no one faces this journey alone. Through her dedication, Dr. Bird is not just a researcher, but a beacon of hope and a catalyst for change in the fight against Alzheimer's disease. Her work reminds us that science and compassion together can make a profound difference. Want to learn more? Check out our detailed article on Dr. Bird's incredible journey and research at the link below. Don't miss it. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content.
Thank you, Tyrone. I want to ask Linda, Jody, and Jody. So one of you mentioned the 36-hour day. Are there any other books, or are there any online courses or anything where people can get some information on learning more about the disease so that they can help their loved ones? And even as Dr. Kane, being a primary care physician, which he mentions often with a large geriatric practice, are there any resources that you can share with physicians who might be in the audience to let them share with their clients or patients?
Jody, you want to?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll take that one. So the 36-hour day book, that's a really hard book to digest all in one fell swoop. I've led support groups before, and people are like, we read the 36-hour day and it made us so sad. And I said, so let's take another approach to the 36-hour day. Let's take a look to the back of the book where all of the what's going on in your world. So if you're having trouble with sundowning, let's go to those sundowning pages and read about sundowning. If you're having trouble with maybe some kind of hallucinations or paranoia, then let's go to that chapter and read about that chapter. So whatever you're experiencing, read that. There's another book out there, The Compassionate Caregiver. That's another book. There's lots and lots of books, lots of podcasts out there, lots of YouTube videos. There's our alz.org, alz.org website that is so resource rich that you can find anything that you're looking for out on that website. But we also have another absolutely wonderful website. It's called alzprogramsanytime.org. And I'm going to put this in the little chat here. So it's alzprogramsanytime.org. And on that, it's an on-demand website. So there is so many programs on there, everything from holiday hints to communication and behavior, to what do I do if my loved one is falling all the time, to just having more conversations with family about the disease process and how your loved one's progressing. And you can at any time sign up to take one of these programs. You literally put in your first name, last name, zip code, and your email address, and they send you the link, and you can watch it at your own pace. So if you need to stop it because your loved one needs your attention, you can stop it, pause it, and then come back to it. So that's another. Yeah, I'm gonna pop this in.
I was going to say, is it something that the patients, for lack of a better description, can they watch that? Do you suggest they watch that book or read that book as well? Or what's your thoughts on it?
You know, everybody's got their own thoughts on the 36-hour day. Some people absolutely love it. Some people are scared to death of it. You know, I think it's one of those books that you have to take in moderation. And, you know, with Alzheimer's and dementia, it does not discriminate. We know that Alzheimer's and dementia doesn't discriminate, but we also know that when you met one person with Alzheimer's or dementia, you've literally met one person with Alzheimer's or dementia, because everyone progresses through the disease at such a different progress, that you could have somebody that's got, early stage or early middle stage or middle stage or middle late stage or late stage. So you've got just all these different stages to go through. So, I mean, I'm going to say, read at your own pace, go to the back of the book, see what's going on. Use our allsprogramsanytime.org resource rich website at alz.org as well, because there is going to be something on there for every caregiver. And we are really super excited. We just got a release on a brand new program called the Empowered Caregiver. So you're going to see it popping up in the Jacksonville area pretty soon. And it is a series of 5 different programs all in one. And it's called the Empowered Caregiver. So we go everything through kind of bathing, dressing, grooming, all the way to communication and behavior, and giving people the tools to know what's the difference between assisted living, independent living, memory care, hospice, all of that. So it's a really great program, and you're going to see that popping up in the area very soon.
By the way, when you mentioned earlier, I'm sorry, Linda, I just have to say this because I won't remember. Speaking of memory, when you mentioned, Jody, a few minutes ago about the person who's outside and won't come in, that actually happened with my relative. They went out and the loved one could not get them back in the house. And it was a very hard pill to swallow, because it was their parent. And to, for your parent not to recognize you anymore, that's a tough pill to swallow. So I also wanted to get into the support group or respite care. Go ahead, and Linda, and then we can, because I can interject my personal.
Yeah. So the Alzheimer's Association, I mean, this is their wheelhouse. So wonderful website with wonderful resources. myeldersource.org also has resources for caregivers. There's caregiving.com, which you can get to from a link on our website that is helpful with resource information for caregivers. There's also 2 evidence-based programs that are a series of classes similar to what Jody described. One is called Powerful Tools for Caregivers, which we provide, which helps caregivers be their best caregiver as a caregiver. And then there's also Savvy Caregiver, which AHEC, or the Area Health Education Council, they hold those classes. And that is specific for caregivers for people living with dementia. So those are 2 programs also specific for caregivers in our 7 counties. Look forward to seeing that new one coming to our area, Jody.
And then you said it was savvycaregivers.com?
Caregiving.com, you could get through a link on our website as myeldersource.org. And then Powerful Tools for Caregivers is a series of classes, and Savvy Caregiver is another one that's specific for dementia, for people who are caregivers of people living with dementia. And you can call our office, and we can connect you to those programs. We also have on our website for professionals working with older adults, several individual courses. It's called Elder Source Institute, and there are several different courses. One of which is Alzheimer's and dementia. There's other ones like adult elder abuse, legal issues, caregiving issues. There's a variety of courses. So you could take individual courses, or you could take what is the Foundation to Aging certificate. And we developed this in partnership with UNF.
I am glad you mentioned the legal issues, because that's one of the first things I try to cover when my patients' family come in, and I start to recognize, and sometimes it's the patient, they recognize themselves that something is going on. I try to make sure we get them, first and foremost, get them protected from those the criminals that are out there trying to take advantage of them. And
Yes.
I try to stress to the family members how really important it is to get them set up legally to be guarded against someone coming in and taking all of their life savings, which is their resources to help take care of themselves. And that, and some of the things I do recommend also is because a lot of times the family doesn't live with that person. That person still wants to have that independence, so they're not quite out there. They haven't moved in with anyone or haven't went to, as you say, they're still trying to live at home.
Mhm.
So I tell them how important it is to have cameras, around the house. Don't think about it being an invasion of privacy. Think about it being more of a protection for their loved one. Because at 2 o'clock in the morning, you get a phone call from them, and you live in Orange Park and they live on Jacksonville North Side, maybe a little bit difficult for you. You may be a little bit hesitant about going over to see what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you try to reach them throughout the day and they're not answering the phone, you try to find some kind of way you can at least look in on them without having to run from your job and then find out it was actually nothing. So it's a lot of nooks and crannies that we try to do in the primary care office.
Mhm. And Dr. Kane, one thing you probably come across a lot in your practice are those end of life decisions that have to be made. And it's so important that people get down in writing while they have capacity to do so, especially when they're living with dementia. You want to get those things planned out early, so that when the time comes when you're at the late stages, those decisions are honored. That's not the time to. No one's going to be able to know what you want, and
Right.
that's not the time you're going to voice it. So,
well, that's one of the mandatory forms, mandatory things that my office staff has to do with any new patient, whether they're elder or whether they 19, well, maybe not so much as 19, but the adults, the older adults that meaning the 20 plus. I'm gonna go with 21 plus. That we ask them to complete this and to give us some insight as to what they would like to do, as you say, with end of life. And then we actually have them bring it back to the office. We scan it into the chart, because if the family member can't find it, we have it there for them. And we actually give it back to the patient and tell them to go home, put it in a Ziploc bag, waterproof it as best they can, but make sure the family members know, where it's at.
I want to ask a question about respite care. Are you aware of any resources for in-home respite care or adult daycare centers or residential respite care that you can share with our audience?
yeah, so we fund those programs. We provide funding throughout our 7 counties, and also area agencies throughout the state of Florida have that Alzheimer's Disease Initiative funding, as well as other programs that fund respite and adult daycare. And that we find is the greatest need that caregivers have, is they just need a break. And so respite is invaluable for them. And there are programs that use volunteers to do that. There's the relief program that we have in a couple of our counties. But yeah, so the best thing to do for that is to call the helplines in their area, such as ours, and let us help you connect to those resources.
Linda, explain it quickly to people what respite care is for some of those who may not be.
Oh, there you go. He just put it up there.
That behind the scenes guy does it every time. The
He's
wizard.
on it.
He's
the
amazing.
wizard. He refers to himself as the wizard. So
Oh, he works his magic.
No, I think he really is the wizard. I mean, we say something and it goes right up at the bottom of the
Right up.
screen.
You guys need to stop that. Stop that before I have to give him a dose of cyanide.
So I know taking medications for people who are just not at the point of, they want to be independent and live by themselves, but they still need that added help. You know what I mean? Like, how do family members, do you have any advice for family members who would love if their family member would take advantage of some of the adult daycare centers, or that may, if there are any resources that could remind folks to take their medication, for example, or or just any, do you know anything about GPS tracking devices? I'm just thinking aloud of some things that people may need and not know that those resources are available for them.
So open conversation with your physician. Sorry, Linda.
No,
Open
you go ahead.
conversation with yeah, open conversation with your physician is the best way to get tons of resources. And not don't keep anything back from them. I mean, they only know, Dr. Kane can attest to this or
Yeah,
attest to this. They only know, like a physician
they
only
know.
knows what you tell them.
Mhm.
So you've got to have those open conversations with your physician about, listen, we're talking about adult day. Can you give me the pros and cons to adult day? Can you give me the pros and cons to this? I'd like to get my loved one involved in, maybe getting some home care in the house. How do I go about doing that? Now, the Alzheimer's Association has a community resource finder, and all you have to do is type in the Alzheimer's Association Community Resource Finder, and you type in your zip code and you tell them what you want. Like, you're looking for respite, you're looking for adult day, and it'll pop up everything that's in that area. But again, if you don't have the conversation, then you don't know what's out there.
But let me remind clinicians also that they have to dig. It's imperative that they ask some of these questions, because as you stated, Jody, that some of the patients or the caregivers may not know what information to provide to the physician. So if you guys got also some questions for those physicians to be able to ask the caregivers during an interview, I think that would be very helpful as well.
Mm-hmm. I think, and yeah, we could definitely, there are probably many assessments that we could provide for physicians on things to ask and how to have the conversation. I'm sure the Alzheimer's Association has resources like that. I think the other piece of advice I would give, in addition to what Jody said, which is absolutely right, what she said, is also involve your other family members.
Yeah.
Don't isolate yourself as the caregiver. Don't feel like you have to do this alone as the caregiver. This is a family affair. So you have to bring in, if you're the spouse, bring in the kids. If you're one of the kids, bring in the other kids. But get the family involved and do this together, because you're going to need that break. And that's the other thing is, the saying when you're on the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first. There's a reason, because if you
Yeah,
pass out, you're no good to the next person. So
that's true.
take care of yourself as a caregiver.
Mhm.
You have to do that. It's hard. There's guilt involved. There's feeling like there's no time for it. But let me tell you, you will be sorry if you don't take care of yourself first. So take care of yourself first. You'll be there to take care of your loved one. The support groups, I think, are absolutely invaluable, and I'll tell you why. It's an opportunity to share what you're going through and know you're not alone, but also you get great tips from other caregivers
True.
who are going through it or have been through it or something similar. And when you're struggling on because you have a parent outside in the rain who won't come in, there may be someone who just dealt with that and has an idea for you to try. Or they want to go drive their car and someone will tell you, just disconnect the battery and tell them the car's got to go in the shop.
Take the
You know,
keys.
Yeah.
yes, someone,
Pull a spark
Right.
plug, pull a spark plug wire and take.
that's right. They don't know, right?
Hey,
And
there's tons of ideas out there. I mean, especially with that. I mean, we had a support group as well where there was someone that was going out and dismantling the car. They were just going out and dismantling the car, and the caregiver would come to the support group every month and say, I just don't know what to do. And somebody came up with the idea of put something on the door that they won't cross. So they tried stop signs, they tried restroom signs, and then they figured out there was one thing that that person wouldn't cross, and they put it on the door, and they never had to worry about him going out into the garage to take the car apart anymore. So it was just
Wow.
finding that one piece of one thing that they wouldn't cross. And these support groups, like Linda was saying, they help save caregivers' lives because they're dealing with so much at home that they need to have other people that are living their same journey to help them, to guide them, to walk with them, and to let them know that they're not alone. So we can get a list of all of the support groups that are in the Jacksonville area. I will definitely get that to you, Dr. Kane and Jocelyn, so that we can get you in the right direction so that you can point people to those support groups. You can find them on the Community Resource Finder as well, but we're going to make sure that you two are getting all of our communication to pass out.
So I think about care management and case management. So when you mentioned about making sure you are talking to, or the family members are talking to the primary care physician, is the physician the one that would set up care management or case management, or is that something that's coordinated through your organizations?
So for us, if they call us and we do an assessment and they become active in one of our programs, there is a case manager that they get assigned that will help them develop a care plan and put services in place. Mm-hmm.
And if they call us, when I say us, I mean one of the program managers that are located in various locations across the state of Florida, depending on what they tell us, we may point them in the direction of, here's your local, here's a list of care managers or case managers in your area. If they're coming from a hospital, a social worker case manager is going to get to us again and get assigned to them.
And we also reach out to help the caregiver contact the organizations like Elder Source and Alzheimer's Association in the office. And you guys said something critical, and I'm gonna let Jocelyn finish what she had to say. And that is, you can't stress enough to those caregivers that you cannot take care of anyone from the grave. If you don't take care of yourself, who's gonna take care of them if you're dead and gone? So I hate to lay the guilt feeling on them, but I want them to think about that they have to take care of themselves just to be able to take care of that loved one, to be around. If something happens, if you're the spouse and you're pretty much it in terms of the caregiver, if you're gone, then who's going to take care of your loved one? And if it's a child, who's going to help take it, particularly if you're only child. But not all children want to get in and help mom and dad, and so a lot of times you are the only child, technically speaking.
That happens.
Rest of them, like the freedom of not being involved or not having to deal with it.
Yeah, it does happen. And here's a trick for caregivers. So get yourself a 3-ring binder as a caregiver. And in that 3-ring binder, start to write down things that you need done. So I need my lawn mowed. And write down the people that can help you with that. So if you've got neighbors that you can call, I need to go to the grocery store, but I can't get there. But I can call these people and they can go get my groceries because they're trustworthy. I need to get out of the house for 30 minutes. I can call these people to come basically kind of rescue me for 30 minutes or give me a brief respite time. So get that 3-ring binder out and start writing names and contacts and phone numbers so that when you're in need of something, you can flip that binder open. You can say, oh, yep, I need a break today. So I'm going to call somebody, Janie down the street, and she's going to come sit with my loved one for 30 minutes while I just go drive around.
That is such a great idea. I love it. I'm going to use that. I'm going to share that because
absolutely,
when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about it.
Right.
So have it ready. Think it through, have it ready.
Yeah. Flip open that 3-ring binder, flip open that page, and it's right there.
Right
Right
there.
there.
So I
You
know
know,
both
one
of
thing
you
that
are,
we want to, even though JT, let me just say this real quick because I'm looking at the our panel, the side panel we have here. They talk about hurricane prep, and I know we're having Antonio Nichols in from the health department. That's next week, right?
yes.
In terms of hurricane preparation and stuff. I really like for these guys to go over because sometimes it's difficult to get that loved one to leave and go with you if there's evacuation.
There,
There may be some hints they can help us with, in terms of how to get these patients to go with you or what to do during those kind of urgent, emergent situations.
yeah, absolutely. So I did put that in the chat box on our side, and it's down at the bottom of the screen already. So we have a whole disaster prep piece on our website, but there's a lot of things as caregivers that people need to consider. If you're a caregiver for someone living with dementia, first off, you need to consider whether you should stay or evacuate. And then if you plan to stay at home, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to secure the home. We need to plan meals. We need to gather supplies. We need to plan for power loss. But we know hurricane season in the state of Florida starts in June and ends in November. So we have time to prepare. All right. We have time to build our bags and build our toolkits. We have time to do all of that right now. And now is the time to do it. While your loved one is taking a nap or sleeping or even out of the house, now is the time to go ahead and start packing your supplies, snacks, blankets, your loved one's favorite treat or toy or pillow or whatever it is. Water. Start packing it all up now and make yourself a go bag and stick it in the closet. Try not to be that last minute preparer, because then your loved one living with the disease is going to be constantly, why are you doing that? And then you're going to create a sense of urgency and potential scaredness in them. So if you can plan ahead, that's great. The third thing is if you need to evacuate, make sure that you've got a destination in place. Make sure you have your name on those special needs shelters. And then when we communicate with our loved one with the disease, we want to communicate as calmly as possible without creating that sense of urgency. Because if we remain calm, they remain calm. And make sure to share your plans.
Do you recommend those medical ID devices? So in the event that you're separated from your loved one?
Absolutely.
There's also
Absolutely.
you can also get a scent kit from the sheriff's office where you take a scent of your loved one and it gets stored in a vial, and you keep that with some paperwork so that if your loved one wanders off, because we know wandering is common, then they have dogs that are trained and they can find that person.
That is
So
great to know.
get a scent kit. If you have little kids or if you have someone living with dementia, you want that scent kit. In fact, I have one in my house.
You do. Those are so absolutely
Amazing.
fabulous.
And it's
That's
easy.
Yeah, so early in the conversation, Jody, we are nearing the end. We knew we were going to have a lot to talk about, but I would like to give you an opportunity, both of you, if you will, and I'm going to start with you, Jody, to talk about how people can help support your organization. You mentioned there was a mention of your walk. Are there any other opportunities that people can donate or volunteer?
Absolutely. So we have many ways you can participate. So there's the Walk to End Alzheimer's. You can build a team, you can donate to your team, and you can also become a sponsor if you wish to become a sponsor. There's also the Longest Day, and we can get more information about this as well. There's the Longest Day. It's the day that the lightest day that combats the darkest of diseases. And people do fundraisers on that day, and the fundraisers go to the Alzheimer's Association. If you just want to donate, we can get you that information to do that, because we have so many research projects that are going on right now. We have lots of team members that are out at the AAIC conference right now, which is all about the research. We also have, there he goes. Thank you so much. Again, he's on it. He's so on it. Thanks, Tyrone. We appreciate that. And then also there is volunteer. So you can volunteer. You see where that little icon says get involved. Click that icon. We would love to have you as a volunteer. We have community educators. We have support group facilitators. We have awareness champions. Even if you only have a small amount of time to donate, we would love to have you as part of our organization.
Thank you, Jody. What about you, Linda? I know you said that you are funded by state and federal. Well, I already know that's not enough.
Absolutely not. It's absolutely not enough. So yeah, we do fundraising, and we're very appreciative of what folks are able to give. It could be as little as $1. Every bit makes a difference. So you can just do that on our website at myeldersource.org. There's a donate button. We have our annual event, which is in November, which is the Night with the Stars. We're doing a campaign now, Suppers for Seniors, to help eliminate the waiting lists or address the waiting list for meals. So there's definitely opportunities there. And if you go to the website, there's, like I said, there's information and the donate button. There's also, and again, thank you for whatever little bit or ever how much someone wants to or can give. We also have opportunities for volunteering. So they could also go to our website, and whether you volunteer with us or you volunteer with one of our providers who we work with in our 7 counties, depending on what your interests are, we'll either sign you up with one of our programs, or we'll connect you to those other programs if you're interested in volunteering with one of them as well. So definitely there you go. Tyrone, thank you. You're awesome.
What I like about both of your organizations, because we do have audience members who are from other parts of Florida,
Yes.
for example, and I'm happy to know that both of your organizations are affiliated with national or statewide
Yes.
groups. And there's I always call area agency on aging places throughout the state of Florida, and then the Alzheimer's Association. So this has been fantastic. I know that there's so much more that we can talk about, but now that I've always known Linda, but now that I know you, Jody, we definitely would like to have both of you back, because this is a very complex conversation. And I'm sure there are people who, were taking notes as I was, and I saw Dr. Kane writing, and he's probably and we're gonna share the video with our audience just in case some folks missed it, because again, you all were great, share some good information, but we are at the end of the hour and want to respect your time. And so we do like to give you an opportunity to share your final thoughts regarding tonight's topic. And so I will start with Jody. If you can share with our audience your final thoughts regarding tonight's topic, or whatever we didn't ask that you want to mention.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to both you and Dr. Kane for having me on the podcast and on the show. It's been a delight. It's been a privilege to be here to share the Alzheimer's Association information. And we just want to make sure that every caregiver knows that the Alzheimer's Association is out here for them. And there is no question too big and no question too small. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our helpline is in 200 different languages and dialects. So, call us. We will help you. We will guide you. We will put you in the right direction. We'll get you connected to your local program manager. We're out here. Please know we're out here, and we will get you connected to the resources.
I'm glad you again. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned, and you're very welcome. I'm glad you mentioned multiple languages, because that is important for people who have patients or loved ones who need to have that option. Thanks again, Jody, for participating. Linda, what about you? What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I today's program was amazing. I mean, yeah, I learned a few new things from you, Jody. So thank you for sharing. And um, it was a great conversation. It's an important conversation. So thank you for having us. Thank you for having the conversation. For the listeners, I think what's important is that people, again, remember to take care of themselves, put on their mask first. They'll be there to take care of their loved one, all the better. Also, I think it's important to keep your sense of humor. It's okay to laugh. Some things might be a little funny, and it's okay. You don't have to feel guilty about it. It'll help you get through the tough times. So keep your sense of humor, take care of yourself. And again, like Jody, know that we're here to help, whether it's Alzheimer's Association or Elder Source or any one of the area agencies on aging in Florida or around the country. We're here to help. So please reach out and let us see how we can help you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much. Dr. Kane, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I'd like to thank both of our guests for coming in. I kind of feel like I'm in one of those James Bond movies where they said the world is not enough. An hour is not enough, to cover this topic. But I really appreciate our guests for coming. I would like to, if I can, and the feasibility is kind of up to you guys. I think it would be great to have, now that COVID is over by whatever number of years, it'd be great for us to have a symposium, on a weekend where it encompasses things for clinicians and the community at large. I would think that people, some of these local hospitals or whomever can help donate monies to sponsor such a symposium, because, where you're trying to educate both the providers and then the other providers. The providers being the caregivers, they're providers for the people that they're taking care of. And then the clinicians being the provider of clinical medical services. And I think it would be a great setting by which we take these two organizations and other ones that you guys support and have communicated with, so we can educate the community and have them come in and take a weekend day, 8-hour day, whatever it may be, to look at all these services and provide any information that we can to the community at large.
It's a great idea.
It's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, I agree. And I will be the first to volunteer to help put something together.
And I'll be the second to come behind her and help.
And you give us a call and we'll be there to help you.
Thank you again.
Just give us a call.
Yeah, thank you again.
Just give us a call. We're here.
Yeah, tonight's topic again was very important. My final thoughts regarding the discussion when it comes to Alzheimer's or dementia is that to share with people you're not alone. We understand that it's very difficult to watch your loved one not be the person that they used to be. However, how special and how grateful they are to know that you're their champion and you're their advocate and you won't leave them alone. But as our guest said, it's okay to laugh at some of the quirky things that they do. I know I do with my relative. They say the darndest, they say kids say the darndest things, but they say the darndest thing as well. And know that there is help for you. I hope you gained a lot of information and that you found out or learned more about the resources available with Elder Source and Alzheimer's Association. Tune in the future at Pause for the Truth, and especially next week, because if you're in Florida, it is hurricane season. And as our guest talked about, the importance of being prepared, not only for yourself, but for your family. Thank you again, and have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
And there we have it, another episode of the Pause for the Truth podcast in the proverbial books. Our heartfelt thanks go out to every one of you who took the time to tune in. Mark your calendars, we're here every Tuesday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to join our community on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. But the golden ticket? Subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's your passport to all our latest episodes and exclusive content. A special mention to the wizard behind the curtain, Tyrone Jackson from Call Tyrone IT Services. His technical prowess and unwavering dedication are the backbone of this podcast. Next week, we'll be back with more. Until then, tell your friends, tell your family about our show. Your support is invaluable.